Hey guys! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're doing a recap of study group storyline. Let's get started. Study group opens with students sleeping in class, while the mathematics teacher rumbles on. Only one student, Yoon Ga-min, pays attention and takes notes. One would think he is the best student in the class, but ironically, he is not. All his life, Ga-min has aspired to be a good student. He has dedicated himself to his studies, attended online classes, studied independently, and even got a private tutor. Sadly, his grades are always lacking. One day he overhears some students talking about Yusung Technical High School. It is supposedly the best school to attend if you want to pass your college exams. Ga-min transfers to Yusung Technical High School without thinking twice, but turns out he was misinformed. Yusung Technical High School is more like a living hell with bullies in every corner. The discipline leaves a lot to be desired, and even the teachers have given up on the students. The students walk around, barely wearing the right uniform, smoking, and being a menace. However, Ga-min refuses to give up and approaches one of the most sensible-looking students, Kim Se-hyun. He asks Se-hyun to join his study group, but before the latter can answer, a fight breaks out. One of the students starts a fight with Se-hyun and beats him to a pulp as the others watch. There is an online ranking system among the students, and they must fight to rise within the ranks. The discipline chief breaks up the fight and introduces the new temporary teacher, Miss Han Kyung. As expected, the students pay no attention or respect to her. Another fight breaks when she is taking attendance. The toughest class bully starts it, and the student's behavior shocks Han Kyung. Later, during a break, Ga-min and Han Kyung catch up. It turns out that Han Kyung used to be Ga-min's tutor. Unfortunately, something happened, and she stopped tutoring him. Ga-min worries she will quit because of the school's indiscipline issues, but she promises she won't. He then shares his plan to do better in his studies. For the best part of the week, Ga-min follows Se-hyun like a lost puppy. Finally, Se-hyun breaks and agrees to help Ga-min with a few mathematical equations. As they talk, Se-hyun worries about Ga-min's academic abilities. Still, Ga-min remains optimistic he can do well. Ga-min's innocence surprises Se-hyun and how he has no idea who is in charge. He explains that the son of a mafia gang leader who attends the school runs their school. His name is Pai Han-wol, and he started the ranking system. He is also the best student at the school, and Se-hyun refuses to join Ga-min's study group for fear of crossing Pai Han-wol's path. Meanwhile, Han Kyung tries to talk to the principal about the students' smoking culture, but he ignores her. The next day, the class bully beats Se-hyun to a pulp after Se-hyun accidentally ran into him. Han Kyung witnesses the beating and tries to help. Fortunately, Ga-min stops her and offers to go on her behalf. He puts on a mask and uses the fire extinguisher to distract the bullies and take Se-hyun away. Unfortunately, Se-hyun is not pleased since Ga-min only made things worse. Now, the bullies will come after him with more vengeance. True to Se-hyun's words, the bully immediately comes after him. This time, he demands to know the identity of the guy in a mask. Once again, Ga-min intervenes and gives the bully a blackout. With the bully passed out, Se-hyun confronts Ga-min again. He refuses to join Ga-min's study group and asks why Ga-min is wearing a mask if he is confident. Sadly, Se-hyun doesn't have a happy home life. His dad is an alcoholic who wants him to drop his studies and do welding training. He is abusive and doesn't care that Se-hyun wants to study and join a good college. The dad even forced Se-hyun to throw out all his notebooks. By contrast, Ga-min has a supportive mom, but he feels disheartened by his academic results. He tries his best every time, but nothing changes. No one even wants him in their study group. This is why this study group is a big deal to Ga-min. He has been training hard psychically because he wants his body to be as strong as his mind. The following day at school, Han Kyung is surprised when she sees the discipline chief trying to get rid of the smoking drums. She is disappointed when she learns that there is an inspector visit and the principal is trying to save face. The discipline chief asks her to hide the drums, and a new student, Gonyob, helps her. He asks why they can't let the inspector see how bad the school is, but sadly, Han Kyung feels she is not in a position to do so just yet.
솔직히 나도 그러고 싶긴 한데
Back in the classroom, Gamin is touched when Sehyun gifts him one of his detailed notebooks. Simultaneously, Hyunwoo figures out that Gamin is the masked guy and starts a fight. The fight quickly intensifies as Hyunwoo kicks out all the other students and burns the notebook, nearly causing a fire. Watching the notebook burn pisses Gamin off, and he beats Hyunwoo to a pulp. He tries to make Hyunwoo apologize to Sehyun, but the poor lad passes out from the severe beating. Sehyun is shocked to see Gamin so worked up over a book. He is touched and agrees to join Gamin's study group. Han-kyung rushing to the class to see what the fracas is all about. Upon entering, she discovers a burning bag, Hyunwoo unconscious, and Gamin standing over him. She swiftly extinguishes the flames as the inspector and principal arrive. They all assume Gamin is the culprit and call him in. While Gamin waits for the inspector and principal, Sehyun sneaks into the room and thanks him. Later, things take a turn for Hyunwoo when Pai Han-wol brings him to the rooftop. Back in the office, the principal moves to expel Gamin, but Han-kyung defends him. She mentions that he is the victim and thinks it is unfair that Gamin had to resort to violence to save himself. She calls out the principal in front of the inspector, causing him to feel embarrassed. The inspector finally remembers where he had seen Han-kyung before. He informs the principal that Han-kyung was last year's top performer in the teacher recruitment exam. However, she didn't register and was disqualified. The inspector is keen to see if she can change the school and gives her a chance. Han-kyung mentions that she will help the students start a study group, and the inspector agrees it is a good idea. After the incident, he and Sehyun grow close and start looking for people to join their study group. The principal is out to get Han-kyung and wants the idea to fail. He gives Han-kyung 2 weeks to form a group. Han-kyung meets with Sehyun and Gamin and tries to encourage them to recruit other students. The two start putting up posters around the school, but the ridiculous rumors about Gamin curtail their efforts. Following the fight with Hyunwoo, Gamin has sort of become a feared legend among the students. Many students think Gamin will bully them into joining the study group. Most students are avoiding him and don't want to incur Pai Han-wol's anger. As the week goes by, Gamin randomly meets Gon-yeob and invites him to his study group. Unfortunately, Gon-yeob turns him down and asks why Gamin is trying to cause trouble for those close to him. Simultaneously, Han-kyung grows worried about Hyunwoo, who has been missing school since the fight. She tries to track him down, but fails. One evening after classes, Han-kyung invites Gamin and Sehyun to lift their spirits. She buys them books, pens, and food, and gets to know them better. After sharing dessert, they each go their separate ways. But Gamin realizes he accidentally left his new book in Han-kyung's bag. In the meantime, Han-kyung returns home to find Hyunwoo and his gang broke into her house. Hyunwoo starts rambling about Han-kyung crossing the wrong people at school. It turns out that someone ordered Hyunwoo to attack Han-kyung and teach her a lesson. As she tries to reason with Hyunwoo, she gets a call from Gamin. Unfortunately, Hyunwoo hits the phone from her hand, and Han-kyung is unable to pick it up. Just when Hyunwoo is about to pounce, Gon-yeob arrives and tries to save Han-kyung. The two hide in the parking lot, but unfortunately, Hyunwoo and his gang find them. Once again, Han-kyung tries to reason with Hyunwoo and ends up getting hit. Gon-yeob tries his best to fight the group, but he is overpowered. Fortunately, Gamin suddenly shows up and takes on the group like the fighting pro that he is. Upon seeing that Gamin is too strong, the gang starts to flee. However, Hyunwoo tries to stab Gamin, and Gon-yeob stops him. Hyunwoo starts teasing him about how his mom died, and Gon-yeob loses it. He attacks Hyunwoo with a renewed vengeance, demanding to know what he knows about his mom's death. Gamin stops Gon-yeob and is shocked when the latter mentions that Pai Han-wol had something to do with Gon-yeob's mom's death. Before leaving, Gon-yeob warns Han-kyung to be careful as no one can stand against Pai Han-wol at the school. After the incident, Han-kyung gives Gamin the book he forgot in her bag. She goes back to her apartment and thinks of calling the police. As she is about to make the call, one of Hyunwoo's gang members knocks on her door to apologize. He explains that he is under threat and has no choice. The next day at school, Sehyun and Gamin continue to feel down as no one is signing up for the study group. However, a little while later, Gamin receives a chat from a student named Jiwoo who wants to join the study group. Gamin and Sehyoon then approach her in her class and discover that Jiwoo is in an all-girls class. At the same time, Han-kyung asking someone about Pi Han-wol, but she is warned to stop looking into him. According to her reluctant source, looking into Pi Han-wol can lead to her death. Surprisingly, Pi Han-wol decides to show up before Han-kyung. Meanwhile, Ga-min and Sehyoon embark on their quest to find out who Jiwoo is and why she wants to join the study group. It turns out that Jiwoo is Hyunwoo's twin sister, but didn't apply for the study group. Her best friend, Hee-won, did this to protect Jiwoo from the bullies. Unfortunately, a guy named Gyu-jin took a video of Hyunwoo robbing a store and has been using it to threaten Jiwoo into submission. Gyu-jin also lied to Hyunwoo, robbed him, and set him up with a loan. At the time, Hyunwoo thought he was robbed and went to Gyu-jin to ask for a loan, not knowing that Gyu-jin was the robber. After spotting Jiwoo and witnessing firsthand how Gyu-jin and his girlfriend are bullying her, Ga-min is forced to intervene. Of course, Hee-won also begs him for his help and assures him that Jiwoo will join the study group if her bullies are dealt with. To help Jiwoo, Ga-min embarks on a high-risk mission at the disciplinary committee. According to Sehyoon, the disciplinary committee is more like a school-sanctioned mafia group. No one dares to cross them, and Sehyoon worries that Ga-min is on a death mission. Still, he agrees to help.
근데 그 영상은 어딨어?
Ga-min sneaks into the disciplinary committee office and finds two other boys looking for the blackmail video. Gyu-jin finds the two nosy boys and beats them up before deciding to finally upload the video online. Hearing this forces Ga-min to take action. He comes out from his hiding spot and fights to get to the USB. He tricks Gyu-jin into thinking he is stronger and takes a few punches to get the USB. Once he secures the USB, he beats Gyu-jin and takes his leave. Unfortunately, the other members of the disciplinary committee arrive before Ga-min can leave. As Ga-min deals with the disciplinary committee members, Hee-won and Sehyoon try to come up with a way to help. Jiwoo overhears them and is pissed that no one told her what was happening. She has been laying low for the sake of her brother, but she is done playing weak. Elsewhere, Han-kyung meets with Pi Han-wol and tries to convince him to let Hyunwoo go. As expected, Pi Han-wol refuses to accept any blame and warns Han-kyung to let things go. However, Han-kyung refuses to back down, which Pi Han-wol finds interesting.
되게 재밌는 분인 줄 알았는데.
Back at the disciplinary committee, Gyu-jin realizes that the video was already uploaded to his hard drive and moves to upload it. To stop him, Ga-min steals the hard drive and starts running. Of course, Gyu-jin and his boys also chase after them. Ga-min trips on the wires, and the hard drive falls right under Sehyoon's feet. Sehyoon takes the hard drive and runs to the rooftop. He manages to destroy the hard drive by throwing it from the rooftop. Unfortunately, Gyu-jin catches up to him, but Jiwoo intervenes and gives Gyu-jin a beating of a lifetime. Meanwhile, Ga-min accidentally drops the USB and Hee-won tries to get to it. However, Mi-hee, one of the bullies, gets to it first. This time, Hee-won refuses to be bullied and attacks Mi-hee to retrieve the USB. Unfortunately, their success is short-lived since Hyunwoo arrives after hearing from Pi Han-wol how Gyu-jin played him. Pi Han-wol gave Hyunwoo a knife and encouraged him to kill Gyu-jin. Hyunwoo arrives at the school determined to kill Gyu-jin, but Han-kyung intervenes and gets stabbed. Before passing out, Han-kyung promises to help Hyunwoo. The students are all shocked as they watch the incident unfold. Ga-min rushes to Han-kyung and takes her to the hospital. After the surgery, Han-kyung welcomes Jiwoo and Hee-won to the study group. Jiwoo feels sad about her brother as they have always depended on each other, but understands he did something wrong. The following day, Ga-min and the study group members start their first meeting. Ga-min is excited. In the meantime, the police bring Pi Han-wol in for questioning. However, they don't keep him for too long. The episode ends with another student, Tae-oh, declaring war on Ga-min after hearing about his legendary fights. Initially, Ga-min is not interested until Tae-oh's boys bring Lee-jun. Lee-jun is hoping to join the study group, but Tae-oh tears his application letter. Angered, Ga-min jumps from the window of the third-floor classroom and safely lands a blackout punch on Tae-oh. The story then shifts to Lee-jun's background. He joined Yusung Technical High School because he wanted to be good at fighting. He has always wanted to repay an elderly friend of his who protected him when he was a kid. Unfortunately, the friend later joined the gang and pushed Lee Jun away. Ironically, he is really bad at it. His reason for joining the study group is because he wants to learn how to fight from Gamin. However, Gamin refuses to let him into the group unless he agrees to study. To show his sincerity, Lee Jun agrees to take a math test while the others visit Han Kyung at the hospital. As Lee Jun does the test, another man approaches him and asks if he is Gamin. Lee Jun lies that he is indeed Gamin and is taken away. The man Jung Ho takes him to a secluded warehouse and promises to give him a car if he passes the Yeonbaek gang test.
얼마 전 상비군 테스트를 통과한 네 선배님들.
As expected, Lee Jun fails miserably. Gamin and the group return to the school and find Lee Jun gone. They look at his test and realize he did well, but wonder where he is. Gon Yob arrives and informs them that Lee Jun was taken by the gang. Gamin, Gon Yob, and Jiwoo rush to the warehouse to save Lee Jun, while Se-hyun and Hee-won head to the police station to report the matter. Gamin and the others arrive to find Jang Ho beating Lee Jun for lying about his identity and failing the test. Another intense fight ensues, and once again, Gamin tricks Jang Ho into thinking he is more powerful. Seeing Gamin getting beaten causes Jiwoo to worry they might be in over their heads. However, at the opportune moment, Gamin reveals his secret strategy and beats Jang Ho to a pulp. Simultaneously, Detective Taemin starts to suspect corruption at the police station. He questions why Pai Han-wol was quickly let go without an interrogation, but his superior asks him to look away. Detective Taemin also worries that Han Kyung might be in serious trouble. It seems like he knows what happened to her a year ago. After Hee-won and Se-hyun report Lee Jun's incident, the police rush over to arrest Jang Ho and his men. Taemin gives the students his card and advises them to call him if they get in trouble again. As the situation at the school escalates, Pai Han-wol continues to plan how to stir things up some more. Meanwhile, the study group sets up their messaging group and welcomes Lee Jun.
몸은 괜찮아?
내 걱정 노노. 모두들 오늘 고마웠다.
After her recovery, Han Kyung returns to the school and meets with the principal. She calls him out for overlooking Pi Han-wol's involvement and writes an official report on it. Later, she meets with the study group students and informs them of an upcoming trip to a different school. She hopes the students will learn more about how to operate a study group and is taking them to visit a school in Seoul.
잠깐만.
Excited, the students put on their best clothes and met on the day of the trip. Unfortunately, Gamin is late, and Jiwoo accidentally sends him the wrong name of the school.
얼른 들어가자. 그리고 가민이한테는 만일고로 바로 오라고 문자 좀 해줘. 네.
Meanwhile, Gamin, who arrived late, mistakenly entered the wrong school, Manik High School, which was located right next to Mainil High School. The mistake happened because he misread a message from Jiwo. Elsewhere, Pai Han-wol was taking down a group of students from Heesun High School, including Dong-soo, the strongest student there. This wasn't just an act of aggression. It was a calculated move to force them into joining the Yeonbaek gang. More importantly, it was part of Han-wol's larger plan to amass power in the quest to defeat a formidable opponent, Yeonbaek's leader. At the same time, the study group members from Yusung Technical High School tried to break the ice with the study group from Manil High School. However, their efforts were met with cold indifference from Jihai, whose dismissive attitude angered Jiwo. But there was a reason behind Jihai's attitude. According to one of her friends, the students of Manil High were currently being bullied by students from Manik High, the school right next door. Since Manik High was notorious for being filled with bullies, just like Yusung Technical High School, Jae wasn't too pleased with the presence of Yusung's study group. He was even convinced that Junmin, one of the members of Manil High's study group who had arrived late, was currently being beaten to a pulp by the students of Manik High. As it turns out, he was right. Junmin is getting a bloody beating by the Manik bullies. By the time Si-hyun and Jiwoo call Gamin to tell him the right address, he is already handling the bullies at Manik. He beats them to a pulp and rescues Junmin.
혹시 양경 주인이세요?
After a rough start, the students finally get to studying and have a great time.
아까 함부로 말한 거 사과할게. 내 편견이었어.
While they are saying their goodbyes, Junmin apologizes and thanks Gamin. It turns out that Junmin was one of the students at Gamin's former school. He used to do well, and he refused to let Gamin into his study group. Looking back, he regrets being mean to Gamin and encourages him to keep trying. His encouraging words move Gamin to tears.
아니야.
뭐가 아니야? 야, 얘 운다.
The next day, the study group returns to Yusung Technical High School. They are surprised to see that the principal gave them an old, dirty room for their club. However, Gamin's enthusiasm motivates them to clean it up and make it decent. After cleaning, another bully, Homin, shows up and berates the study group. Thankfully, the study group students don't take the bait.
존나게 못하는 찐따 새끼들이 지랄들을 한다 지랄들을 해.
On the other hand, Han Kyung meets with the deputy principal and suggests they call a meeting with the disciplinary committee and discuss Pai Han-woo's punishment. Of course, the deputy principal is not for the idea. He challenges Han Kyung to raise the study group students' marks by 10 points if she wants him to risk his life to punish Pai Han-woo.
해보겠습니다. 우리 스터디 그룹 애들 모두 10등 이상 성적 향상시키겠습니다.
After she meets with the deputy principal, Han Kyung meets with the study group and shows them their placement rankings. It comes as no surprise that Gamin is the second last at the school, but he is determined to improve. Later, on their way home, Lee Jun tells the others about Han Kyung's conversation with the deputy principal. They all start feeling the pressure, but Se-hyun gets a message and his whole demeanor changes. He rushes off, saying he has a meeting. It turns out that his dad ordered him to get to the construction site immediately after school. As always, his dad doesn't want him to study. In a flashback, we see a young Se-hyun rushing home to share his good news of passing the exam with his parents. He arrives home to find his parents fighting while the neighbors listen outside. His dad was angry that his wife took out a loan, and the debtors were after them. Presently, Se-hyun runs into Hee-won on his way to the site. They start talking, and she encourages Se-hyun by mentioning how impressive he is. As they walk, they stumble upon Homin and his bully friends. Once again, they start beating Se-hyun and Hee-won. Gamin suddenly shows up and defends his friends. Unfortunately, Se-hyun is hurt that he can't defend himself and relies on Gamin's help again. Se-hyun walks home and finds his angry dad waiting. He gets another beating, but this time, he stands up to his dad and walks out. He is surprised to see Gamin waiting for him. Gamin offers to host him at his house, but Se-hyun refuses. He explains to Gamin that as much as he is grateful, he wants to at least win a fight by himself. He feels helpless and hates that he seems weak. Gamin takes a taxi back home, thinking about Se-hyun's words. That night, Se-hyun encounters Homin by chance while out for a walk. Luckily, Gamin changes his mind about going home and calls Se-hyun when he sees Homin approaching. He helps Se-hyun by coaching him through the call on how to dodge the punches. Sadly, Gamin's phone dies in the middle of the fight, and Se-hyun is left to fend for himself. Surprisingly, Se-hyun manages to give Homin a blackout without Gamin's help. Elsewhere, Han-woo was having a conversation with Min-won, who had just beaten up a student. Min-won was known as a hired enforcer, someone who could be paid to take down bullies on behalf of his clients. However, he had a cunning nature. After completing a job, he would reveal to his target who had hired him, allowing them to take revenge. Meanwhile, Gamin takes Se-hyun home, and his mom is not happy that Gamin is late. She asks him to prepare to transfer schools, and Gamin starts stressing. Se-hyun thinks that Gamin's mom is not serious, but Gamin assures him that she is. His mom has always done what she says. Before they sleep, Gamin's mom gives him a list of new schools to pick from.
전학 갈 학교 리스트야. 아침에 읽어보고 가고 싶은데 골라.
As the night deepens, Se-hyun tries to ask why Gamin is so determined to study, even though his mom doesn't care about grades and they are rich. In a flashback, we see a young Gamin being bombarded by the media, asking if he will follow his genius dad's footsteps. Later, a young Gamin overheard his mom talking to his dad about not pressuring Gamin to be a genius like him. The next day, Gamin and his mom show up to talk to the principal about his transfer. The other students from the study group watch from the window. They realize that because of his low grades, Gamin will not be able to transfer easily. However, Gamin's mom mentions they will have to relocate to Seoul to get Gamin a new school. The students try to give Gamin's mom a good impression of their school, but the lady is not moved.
더 이상 학교가 아니야.
The students try to buy more time for Han Kyung to arrive and talk to Gamin's mom. Unfortunately, Gamin's mom has decided, and their pleas don't move her. She leaves just as Han Kyung pulls up in a taxi. Han Kyung encourages the kids not to give up and borrow a car. She, accompanied by the kids, embarks on a high-speed car chase to reach Gamin's mother on time. However, Homan and his cohorts abruptly stop the car chase when they cut them off with their motorbikes, causing a traffic jam. Another fight ensues as Jiwoo and Lee-jun take on the bullies. Lee-jun opts to stay back and fight while the others hurry to stop Gamin's mom from signing a lease for a house in Seoul. Fortunately, they make it in time, and Han Kyung reintroduces herself to Gamin's mom.
1학년 4반 담임 이한경입니다.
It turns out that Han Kyung was affected by the death of a teacher at Yusung Technical High School. She and Gamin's mom both knew the woman, and Gamin's mom encouraged Han Kyung to fight for justice. Elsewhere, Min Hwan informs Pi Han-wol that Han Kyung is looking to call a disciplinary committee to look into him. Min Hwan asks Pi Han-wol if he should take care of it just like last time. He is probably implying to Gaeon-yeob's mom and Han Kyung's role model. The scene cuts to Min Hwan arriving at the cafe shop where the study group, Han Kyung and Gamin's mom are talking. Gamin's mom still thinks it would be wise to transfer her son to another school. Min Hwan interrupts the meeting and another fight starts. This time, Gamin's mom steps in. She is the director of the Korea Taekwondo Association and can fight. Sadly, she is injured when a beam hits her head when she is protecting Han Kyung. The following day, Gamin makes his way to school with only revenge on his mind. He finds Pi Han-wol on his favorite rooftop and tries to launch a sudden attack. 3 of Pi Han-wol's bodyguards block Gamin's attack, and things get interesting. In the first part, Gamin takes a beating as he lets his emotions get the best of him. However, after he calms down, he beats the 3 bodyguards and makes his way to the school assembly. He finds Pi Han-wol and punches him across the face as everyone watches in horror and fascination. Let's rewind a bit. Before Gamin arrived to take on Pi Han-wol, the students were attending an assembly, the vice principal notifying the students that their school will be under inspection. The school's reputation is at stake, and according to the man, Han Kyung is to blame. He calls her forth to give a speech, and she sticks to her gun and makes it known she won't back down. She mentions her role model as the scene cuts to a flashback of her having dinner with Jung-hwa and being at her funeral. While Han Kyung is talking, Gamin storms in and punches Pi Han-wol. In turn, Pi Han-wol strikes him in the face. Everyone is shocked, and the legend of Gamin grows. On the rooftop, Sunchul and the other guards get into an argument. Meanwhile, Pi Han-wol makes a plan to get Sunchul in trouble and see if Han Kyung will save him. He calls Seong-won to set things up. In the meantime, Sunchul visits his grandfather at the hospital to hang out. His grandfather is hoping Sunchul will change his ways. Unfortunately, Sunchul is in the gang to earn enough money to pay his grandfather's hospital bill. He is already lagging and needs money. While at the hospital, he runs into Gamin, who is there to see his mom. The two get talking, and Gamin tries to encourage Sunchul to join his study group. As they talk, Sunchul gets a warning call from Daechul that the gang members are coming for him. 2 gang members arrive at the hospital to pick up Sunchul, and Gamin is forced to stand down as they take Sunchul away. Sunchul leaves his phone behind, and Gamin picks up when his grandfather calls. Gamin decides to spend some time with grandfather to help him study for his English test. Grandfather believes in growing by learning and asks Gamin to help Sunchul.
우리 순철이 만나거든 공부가 얼마나 즐거운 건지 좀 알려주거라. 에?
The next day, news of a murder dominates local airwaves, with Sunchul emerging as the prime suspect. Gamin tells the detective everything except that the gang members told Sunchul he had a long night ahead. As the day progresses, Gamin and the others question if Sunchul is capable of murder. Sehyoon delivers a presentation on the alarming increase in minors committing serious crimes that began after Pi Han-wol's appearance. He believes the gang is using minors to commit crimes and promising them a future with the company if they take the fall. Later in the night, Daechul approaches Gamin and asks for help. Another gang member attacks Daechul, and Gamin intervenes. Daechul confesses that he saw Seong-won cleaning the murder weapon.
상비군들 사이에선 공공연한 비밀이야. 연백파 간부들이 살인을 하면 상비군이 대신 옷바지하는 거.
The following morning, Gamin shares the information with the study group, and they agree to help Sunchul. That night, Gamin, Ji-woo, and Lee-jun sneak into the gang headquarters. Si-hyun and Hee-won remain behind to keep watch. Unfortunately, the group is separated, and Ji-woo ends up in an office looking for the knife. Gamin ends up hiding on the rooftop, while Lee-jun stays behind to fight a gang member. Downstairs, Pi Han-wol and his gang officials start the backup fighters meeting. Pi Han-wol announces that Sunchul has officially joined the family and gives him a bag full of money. He encourages the other members to do as well as Sunchul. Detective Na arrives to arrest Sunchul and is shocked when the latter confesses in front of the entire gang. Upstairs, Jiwoo manages to find the knife used in the murder, but is discovered by Seon-ho, one of the gang members. On the rooftop, Gamin struggles to break the locked door and get back to the team. Elsewhere, Daechul and Minchul watching over Sunchul's grandfather at the hospital. Daechul feels anxious since Gamin and the others are yet to report back. They decide to run to the headquarters and check what is going on. They figure that they should be more helpful instead of waiting around. Back at the headquarters, Lee Jun fights with a gang member and Seon-ho, and Jae-sung cornered Jiwoo. She is overpowered and faints from a hard hit on the head. Simultaneously, Pi Han-wol leaves the building, clueless about the infiltration. Meanwhile, Han Kyung calls Gamin, thinking he is studying at home. She wants to talk to him about an issue with the revision papers she gave him. As Gamin opens his backpack, a notebook falls, and he notices Seon-ho putting Jiwoo in his car. He abruptly ends the call and tries to open the locked door. On the other hand, Min-hwan shoots down Hee-won's drone, causing the team to lose all contact with each other. Elsewhere, Detective Na packs his car nearby and tries to talk some sense into Sunchul. He knows Sunchul is innocent, but he can't do much if the boy confesses. Sunchul is determined to keep his promise to Pi Han-wol, as it is the quickest way to get money. He needs the money for his grandfather, and Pi Han-wol offers to get him good lawyers. However, as he talks to Detective Na, he changes his mind. He decides to be the good man his grandfather has been begging him to become. Before Seon-ho leaves, Sunchul attacks him, and Jiwoo regains consciousness. She tries to help Sunchul, but they are no match for him. He manages to quickly take them down. It is at this point that Minchul and Daechul arrive, but Seon-ho is too strong for them. Luckily, Gamin finally breaks free and arrives to save the day. With the evidence, Detective Na arrests the real culprit, Seong-won. Simultaneously, Gamin convinces Sunchul to join him in the study group.
내가 그래도 될까?
A few days later, Sunchul returns to school, and the study group focuses on studying for their midterm exams. After the exam, Gamin starts stressing over whether he got the questions right. The others excitedly talk about the questions, happy they are done with the exams. Gamin's mom calls Han Kyung when she can't reach Gamin. She is worried that Gamin will be too stressed out and fail to control his powers. Gamin gets depressed after finishing his exams. However, this time, Se-hyun cheers him up by encouraging him. As they eat, they get a call from Daechul, who is looking for Sunchul. It turns out grandfather's condition has gotten worse. They all rush to the hospital, but Sunchul is not there yet. Sadly, he was waylaid by his angry ex-gang members. As they wait for Sunchul, Gamin keeps grandfather busy by helping him do his last test. This buys Sunchul more time to arrive. Fortunately, he makes it in time to say goodbye to his grandfather, who passes soon after.
할아버지의 마지막 시험도 끝났다.
A few days later, the students get their report cards, and everyone, including Gamin, improved by 10 points. Han Kyung visits the Dean of Academic Affairs and reminds him of his promise to hold a disciplinary committee for Pi Han-wol. With no reason to deny Han Kyung, he signs the papers. All the students are shocked to see the announcement the following day. The study group confronts Pi Han-wol to see what he will do next. However, Pi Han-wol has a plan to wreak havoc by inciting the students against each other. A flashback to a year ago when Junghwa was killed after calling for a disciplinary committee to look into Min-hwan and Pi Han-wol. Unfortunately, she died protecting her son, Ga-yeon-yeob, who was also stabbed. It also turns out that Pi Han-wol's dad knew about Pi Han-wol's behavior, but chose to look the other way. Honestly, not surprising at all. Following Junghwa's death, the disciplinary committee was cancelled. One of Yeonbaek's gang members took the fall for the murder, and Pi Han-wol launched his ranking app at school. Presently, the study group confronts Pi Han-wol to see if he is shaken by the upcoming disciplinary committee. They assume that things have cooled down thanks to the disciplinary meeting and raise their hopes. Meanwhile, Han Kyung meets with Gyeonyeob and apologizes for not recognizing him sooner. Gyeonyeob tries to warn her to give up, but she refuses.
여기서 멈추세요, 제발.
Elsewhere, the deputy principal fills in Pai Han-wool's dad on the situation. He is pessimistic that the disciplinary committee can be stopped, but Pai Han-wool assures his dad that he has things under control.
제가 해결할 수 있어요.
It turns out he plans to tarnish the study group's reputation by releasing footage of the fighting scene at the Yeonbaek Capitol. The media reports that the study group is a gang that tried to steal something from the company. YouTubers start to hound the students to get more information on the school gang. In the meantime, the deputy principal uses this opportunity to file for a disciplinary committee for Gamin. He threatens to get Gamin expelled if Han Kyung doesn't cancel the meeting regarding Pai Han-wool. Although shaken, Han Kyung asks Gamin and the others to stand down and avoid being provoked. This proves to be a hard task when Pai Han-wool announces that anyone who destabilizes the ranking will win 1,000,000 won. The students break into a fight and try to provoke the members of the study group.
1시간 안에 서열 올리는 자들에게 포상은 100만 원씩 준다.
At the same time, Min Hwan and Pi Han-wool threaten the group and destroy their study room. Sehyun starts losing hope and promises his dad to quit school and join the construction crew.
현장 나갈게요.
Thankfully, Gamin refuses to give up on him and follows him to the construction site until he agrees to rejoin the study group.
나 꼭 너랑 같이 공부해서 대학 갈 거야.
After this, they assemble the other members, starting with Hee-won, and regain their fighting spirits.
신경을 많이 쓰나 보네.
This is my word. I have a question.
The study group meeting to discuss how Pai Han-wool has to face the disciplinary committee. Sunchul advises them to be careful of Pi Han-wool as he was linked to Jung-hwa's death. He is certain that Pai Han-wool killed the former teacher to avoid appearing before the disciplinary committee. The study group decides to develop a plan to safeguard Han Kyung while allowing the disciplinary committee to happen.
선도회가 열릴 때까지 우리가 한경쌤 지켜야지.
As the disciplinary committee meeting nears, she meets with Detective Na, who worries he can't protect her. The night before the meeting, the deputy principal calls and lures Han Kyung to the school. He acts remorseful and claims he has information regarding the school and Yeonbaek Foundation. Han Kyung agrees to meet with him, but she discusses it with Detective Na first. They set up a recording device on her coat, and she also records the deputy principal's confession on her phone. As we suspected, the deputy principal was too scared to turn against Pai Han-wool's dad. After his confession, the lights go off and the deputy principal runs away, leaving Han Kyung alone in the dark. Unfortunately, this was a setup, and Pi Han-wool, his loyal sidekick, Min Hwan, and others show up. Min Hwan moves to confiscate Han Kyung's phone, but misses the recording device on her coat. The device pretty much catches Pi Han-wool confessing to being involved with Jung-hwa's death. He also informs her that Detective Na has been handled, and he won't be coming to her rescue. Han Kyung is about to lose all hope when the study group arrives to save the day. Gamin orders Lee Jun to take Han Kyung away, and the other remains behind to fight the gang in different parts of the school. Sehyun takes on Min Hwan in a brave, calculated move, but he is beaten up pretty hard at first.
손기술.
Sunchul sadly gets his arm broken, but still manages to fight side by side with Jiwoo. They are so cool. Sadly, Lee Jun is confronted by his childhood friend, Auntie, and is injured pretty badly. His fight with Auntie was as emotional as you can imagine. To have to fight a close friend and role model is not easy. Lastly, our boy Gamin takes on Pi Han-wool in their much-anticipated showdown. At first, Gamin holds back in hopes of buying more time for Han Kyung. However, he loses it when Pai Han-wool reveals he brought his whole gang to go after the teacher. Han Kyung reaches the gate only to find a group of gang members waiting for her. This is when Hee-won comes through like the last-minute queen she is. She mobilizes the help of Gyujin, and all those Gamin help to rescue Han Kyung. After a charged and intense fight, the disciplinary committee meeting happens the next day. Pai Han-wol is officially expelled, and Detective Na arrests him concerning Younghwa's murder.
학교 네가 한번 바꿔보든가.
Pi Han-wol's dad orders the lawyer to handle the case, but we don't see what happens in his case. After Pi Han-wol's arrest, the students delete his ranking app, and some order is restored at school. Thankfully, the police also arrested the deputy principal and cleared the study group's name. Hyun-woo and Ji-woo also reunite after his release.
너 일로 와. 너 언제 나왔어?
Meanwhile, Geon-hyub gets an intern position at Yeonbaek Capital. On the other hand, the study group continues to flourish and cherish the opportunity to have dreams under Han Kyung's guidance. However, in the final closing scene, she resigns. What a fun roller coaster study group has been. From the script to the delivery, everything has been top-notch. The ending is satisfying, but also leaves us craving for more. Why and when exactly does Han Kyung quit? What happens to Pi Han-wol? Does he ever serve time for his crimes? What happened to Gyeon-yob at the Yeonbaek Capital? We can only assume he is going after Pi Han-wol's dad. Of course, we are curious about Ga-min and whether the study group achieves their dreams. After all, his dad gave Pi Han-wol a lot of leeway and stood by when he killed people and created a toxic environment at school. In retrospect, Pi Han-wol is such a smart kid, but he wasted his life like this. It is sad. As much as we can blame his upbringing, Pi Han-wol also chose the dark path himself. He, like Se-hyun, had a choice to fight back against his dad, but he chose to start his own gang at school. Ultimately, Study Group was a fun watch, one of the best webtoon adaptations we have seen recently. However, some key characters were underused, and it is a pity. If the writers had used characters like Gyeon-yub more and shown us more of Pi Han-wol's background, I think the show would have been more impactful.